Welcome to the ArcaneMystic, your weekly sanctuary for health, well-being and spiritual exploration. Whether you're delving into the healing power of frequency medicines, uncovering hidden wisdom, or seeking a deeper connection on your journey back to self, this podcast is a guide to the mystical side of life. Join us each week as we explore ancient practices, modern techniques, and timeless truths that help you unlock your true potential. We bring together a community of like-minded souls who are passionate about spiritual growth and personal transformation. This podcast is about the soul's journey and the wisdom that lies within. So if you're ready to elevate your mind, body and spirit, subscribe to the ArcaneMystic today. Let's awaken the inner mystic and embark on a journey of discovery together. Remember, the journey to self is the most powerful journey of all. Hello, and welcome to this broadcast of the ArcaneMystic. Today we have the wonderful Leisha Ward, and we are going to be talking about the holistic wellness way. So Leisha, lovely to have you on the show. Please, can you tell us a bit about you and what you are doing at the moment?
Yes, hi Elona. It's really good to be here and thank you for having me. Well, my journey started about 6 years ago, mainly with my eldest son, who was a very colic baby. And we were right in the middle of lockdown. We weren't getting any help. And when we did get seen to by specialists or doctors, we were just sort of fobbed off and sort of basically told that we're first-time parents and babies cry and that's what they do. And you just know as a mother in your gut that something is not right. You just know. But this unfortunately went on for some time. And in the end, I went my own way and I sought help eventually from a homeopath and a bioresonance practitioner. And it was in the end turned out to be something actually quite simple in the grand scheme of things. And that's where it all went from there, really. My eyes opened up to the world and just led me down this pathway of holistic health. And I think this is where my passion is really, really shining through right now.
Always there, isn't it? And I always find it really interesting that kids, my son also was the doorway to homeopathy. I'd found it 20 years before, but I wasn't
Mm.
ready for it yet. And I had a lot going on. It was almost like something blocked me from using it. And then you've got all
Mm.
of, oh, it's placebo, and really it isn't. And people
Mm.
say to me, we'll prove that it works. And I'm like, well, just try it and see what happens. We're not here to prove anything. The medicine
Uh,
speaks. And I remember my son, because he got really sick, really one year, and he ended up, we was at a yoga festival, and he ended up having an asthmatic attack, and I didn't know what it was because nobody had ever had one before. So I took him back to where we were staying, and then I said to him, look, I've got to take you to the hospital. And he looked at me and he said, why would you do that when in your last life you were a master healer? And it was at that point that there was other things that happened after that, after he said that to me. But we ended up using homeopathy, and what turned out to be asthma attacks every 2 weeks then turned out now that he hasn't been to the hospital in 2 years through treatments using herbal. I'm not going to just say homeopathy, herbal and holistic ways. So what I'm going to take from what you've just said and from your little magical being, listen to your children, really listen
abs-
to children, you know,
yeah.
they know the way. And it's not just herbs and homeopathy that you do, it is also growing your own food. And what got you into that? What was it from that point that you started looking at food, or what was the catalyst for you really learning and starting to produce for your family?
I think it all came at once, if I'm honest. And
Yeah.
I think what did it for me was the awakening of the pandemic. When I started diving in and researching, you're down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And then you just research and you're like, wow, you know,
Deep, isn't it?
it's yeah, I mean, we're never going to know absolutely everything, but I just really feel knowledge is power.
Mm.
And now I've spent this summer rather, growing. I'm not an expert. I don't really actually know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it.
Get
Yeah. It's actually doesn't have to be as complicated as what they make it out to be either. It's actually quite simple, and nature does its own thing. All I needed to do was water the crop, and it just did its own thing. And people at the allotment were like, "Wow, my carrots are not looking like that. What have you done?" I'm like, "Nothing."
thing that people forget is that nature has her own way, and
Right.
out of the way, and maybe by getting out of the way and coming back into alignment,
Mm,
we tune into that. And growing food would have been something that our ancestors did, because when you
mm,
think about front gardens, maybe 100 years ago, they were full of fruit and vegetables, and we're not allowed to do that anymore. And
no.
my first year of carrots, they resembled sadness because I was given all these tips of all these different things to do. And then you put your thing on the table and you think, whoa, but then that was fine. And then you try again and you learn to listen to nature and you
Mm.
create that kind of symbiotic relationship with that. It's also tasting your own food. Give us your thoughts.
And the taste is it's incomparable. You can't even compare to what we are subjected to now. It's just even my children, even my son, 5,
Hmm.
he noticed a difference in the taste. Mummy, these taste so different,
Yeah, yeah.
you
My
know?
tomatoes, eating homegrown tomatoes, and do you know the snap peas? When I grow those, I pick them off and just eat it because I find that if you eat fruits or foods that are growing, the minute that you eat them after you've picked them, you're taking in life force rather than
Mm.
the dead food we buy from, the supermarkets. And the other thing that I would say is if you do buy, I'm not going to put them all down because, there still is some benefit. But if you
Mm.
want to live in your food again, when there is sun in the UK, leave your fruits and vegetables out in the sun so the sun can charge your food and then you're taking in life force energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's the simple little things like that, isn't it? That we are missing in health.
Connecting back to the ancestors. So, what would you say your yield was like this year? And where did you really flourish and where did you really not?
Um, well, the plot I took on is really, really big. So for me, I had to really work at the grounding, digging it all out from scratch. And I spent a good 8 months doing that. And then I nurtured the soil with horse manure,
Yes.
just to get some nutrients. I mean, it's very good soil anyway, but it was good to boost it. And I just put the seeds in, and I thought I'd just see what happens.
Yeah.
And it just all took really, really well. We had an abundance of radish, spring onion, carrots, and potatoes. And, I would ask people on the allotment for, little tips and advice and how would you do this and how would you do that. Yeah, so,
You know who knows stuff? Them old people. Those old people know things, they're non-wasteful. They will show you how to use materials that we would normally throw away at home and say that if you do this and if you do that, it really works. They're incredible. I spend time with older people
mm,
because they are still attuned to a time where we're in a generation that I would say that throws things away. The other
mm,
book that I would really recommend is Living Waters by Victor Schauberger because he teaches you how to create living water because it doesn't have its own flow anymore, has been rendered dead now. And when it's allowed to flow in its own natural way and you water crops with this water, food becomes alive again.
yeah.
Yeah, so that book, he was known as a water wizard, so really would recommend that book. And what tips would you give to anybody? I mean, the first thing here is for anybody that doesn't have their own space, get an allotment.
Absolutely. It's cheap. It's, yeah, you don't need very much either. I just started off with a fork and a spade.
Mm.
Literally,
Then it's everything.
and then I just, yeah, like I say, I put loads of seeds in and I just thought I'd see what would happen. I would say don't have any expectations, because, if you set a sort of an expectation, expect to have loads of stuff and then you don't get it, that could lead to you giving up. I think it's a lost skill these days, and I just feel that you just got to be patient and just keep going.
And natural pesticides, what would you recommend for natural pesticides? Do you have any?
I've read up on neem oil.
Have you smelt it though?
No.
I bought some and I smelt that and I wanted to leave my garden.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's going to be a good one, isn't it?
It works though. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any others that you can think of?
Yeah. I read also garlic.
Yeah.
I've read that garlic's another good one. But again, it's not something that I use this year. So this is probably something I need to look into a bit more for next year when yeah.
Eggshells is another good
Yeah,
one.
oh yeah, I've heard the eggshells because the slugs don't like going over the eggshells, do they?
Or they eat them and it bloats them out. Oats is another good one.
Oh,
And
okay.
an Indian woman taught me this one. And that was putting chili and I think garlic in a bottle and spraying the plants with them. And then the slugs or snails try to eat them and they get a spicy mouth. So they leave
Ah,
it alone. But neem as well, you need to be careful of because it can also kill the crops. I found that with
right.
I think it was feverfew. And I went after the aphids. But homeopathy is another one that you can use for that. And what you can do is use animals in potency. So, for instance, if you've got bugs on there like aphids, then maybe use ladybug in a 6E in a low potency. And when you use it in a low potency, what that does is it literally asks the aphids to leave, and so they do because they've got the energy of the ladybird there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then there's other bits like silica and stuff you can use for crop health. And
Mm,
so we've spoken about the herbal remedies, and now you're making your own stuff. You've got an amazing Instagram page, The Holistic Wellness Way. And what this
yeah.
is doing is that it's showing people different herbs and spices and different things that they can use within their home. How did you get into that part?
It was through working very closely with a herbalist and just coming to realize how easy it is to do and actually so simple and effective. And actually, we should be doing this every day.
Mm.
It's just, again, like, we are taught, aren't we, to fear. And when you start practicing natural remedies, you actually realize, actually, this is okay. This is how it should be.
And you've got some incredible stuff for coughs, for colds, for it's ingredients as well that most people have in their homes. This is
Mm,
the greatest part about it. And
I
then
know.
the other part of it as well that you could use is the circadian rhythm, where we go out naturally within nature's seasons and pick different herbs and mugwort and all these different things to bring back home. You
Mm,
can come out, you don't have to go out, it doesn't have to be expensive. And this is what Leisha teaches you on her page is that there's so many different things that one can use at home. And then you start aligning back to the natural way of living. And so
mm,
many more people are going back this way now because either they can't get appointments or they feel a bit nervous about, using anything that's given to them within certain professions now. And I think it's really great and well done for everything that you've achieved with that. And, it's like a community as well where it brings people together. And I really, really like that. And have you noticed any, like, because people say to me, how do you get your kids to drink bitter taste and herbs? Mine were raised on that from young, from birth. That's how I got mine into it. So they know now that sometimes the nastier it tastes, the better it is for you. And what recommendations would you give to people with regards to this kind of stuff?
In terms of sort of disguising a taste, I would use raw honey.
Yeah.
Raw honey, again, very similar to you. Our children have been raised on it from a very young age. They tell me sometimes, my eldest tells me when he needs something now. And I think it's really good to install this from a very young age so they do get used to it. But if I wanted to disguise something, I would slip it into a drink or, sweeten it with raw honey. Yeah, and I would explain, like yourself, we have to have stuff that doesn't taste very nice sometimes. And they do get used to it.
Okay.
Perseverance, persevere, don't give up.
So that works well. And also honey for certain ages, I'd look into that because there's certain kids that aren't able to have that are babies, but babies are more inclined to just drink what you give to them. And have you noticed the benefits? So say in the last 6 years, like with your oldest one, have you noticed the benefits for your family with you moving away from everything that was given to us by the system and more going your own way? What have you noticed?
Well, the biggest thing I've noticed is less trips to the doctor's surgery.
Mm.
There has been times where I think it was about a month ago, I went to the doctors to get my youngest checked out because he wasn't getting better, but he wasn't getting worse, but I just wanted a second opinion. I went there to tell them what I thought was wrong with him. They didn't agree. And then a few days later, he broke out in a hand, foot, and mouth rash. And I knew.
Mhm.
And that just confirmed to me again motherly instincts. But yeah, the biggest thing I've noticed is the recovery is so much quicker. They recover from viruses or, whatever they've got much, much quicker. No side effects.
Mm.
Um, like I say, I'm sure it's saved many hospital appointments, visits to the hospital for sure. When my youngest was a baby and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I would have used Cowpole, I had so much worry and fear all the time. But since I've moved away from that and used natural remedies, I don't. I feel in control. I feel empowered. I feel like I know what I'm doing.
And this is the gift of that part of it. It is just testing it out. And people get really stuck with homeopathy. I get them coming towards me and they're like, well, what do I give and how often do I give it? And it is listening to your child's body and learning to work with it. And sometimes if you feel a bit stuck, have the herbs at home so that you can work with them in conjunction. And also, as well, with regards to the hospital trips, I have found that as well. The other part
Mm,
of it is that I do feel that a lot of people are scared into doing certain things by people in certain professions because it's what they were taught. And it's almost like passing it down. Because I remember when I went holistic with my son and I went to the doctors and I tried to explain to them that whatever they were working with just doesn't really work for me because it's not solving the problem. All it's doing is just maintaining it. And he's getting sicker in other areas. And she gave me some leaflets about children that die and all the rest of it from parents that decide to go their own way. And she was enraged, and I could feel that she wanted me to be enraged. But I just sat in my center in that appointment and I let her speak her truth. I took the leaflet and I just said to her that I can see that you're in a space right now that is exhibiting anger. And I've left a doctor's surgery that has got lots of different people waiting for your energy. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my appointment early so that you can recenter yourself and be the best that you can be for those people out there. But what you've offered me isn't working. But thank you anyway. And I left. She never saw
mm,
me again.
mm,
And there is a lot of fear mongering around that. And I'm not going to put down everything that they've done because there have been some wonderful things like broken bones, or if you've got an emergency and all the rest of it. But for long-term care and even some acute situations, there are other things that people can do in a holistic way, which looks at all of the patient and move things that way. And what would you like for instance, with the hand, foot, and mouth, what did you find worked well for your baby? Worked well for your son?
homeopathy,
So
homeopathic remedies.
yeah.
Another good way, another good one as well. I mean, I'm in the very early stages of training as a homeopath, so I've got very basic knowledge. But if I get stuck, Helios Pharmacy are amazing. You can call them for free and you give over these symptoms and they will guide you on remedies.
They will. And
And
that's
they,
in acute situations, not in long-term chronic.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah. And when I did bring them and I said, I've tried this and tried that, they've made a suggestion of trying a different remedy. And that's how we've managed it. And of course, we don't do sugar in the house or anything, but I eliminated any sort of inflammatory, sort of like dairy, that sort of thing from his diet as well. And just made sure that he was eating as well as he possibly could, more hydration, more, longer napping, that sort of thing to help his recovery.
Hmm. And homeopathy works really well for hand and mouth and for scarlet fever. It also works well for tonsillitis. There's so
Yeah.
many different childhood illnesses, and a lot of them really are similar remedies that you can use dependent on symptoms. And these
Mm,
are basic staple ones that I would have in the house. And which ones would I recommend? Well, your child is going to have their own remedies. So it's about each individual, if they're working with children or even for themselves,
mm,
finding the remedies that work for their children. Because as a homeopath, what I've learned is a child will only need a few different ones, and then they're intercurrent. So maybe they'll go through a pace where they have problems with their gut. So you might give them a dose of lycopodium, or they
mm,
might get something that is temperatures, cough, and not feeling, at their best, belladonna. And they
mm.
may have another one, and then they have their constitutional remedy. That's the one that's really good. Once you know your child's constitutional remedy, by
Mm.
giving that, normally when they're out of sorts, you bring them back into balance again. So it's
Yeah.
just, and again, what did you say earlier? It has given you back the power to take back control of your children's health.
Yeah. It's really empowering. It's just so liberating I can't honestly, you just can't put it into words. And I think this is why in the end, when I first started my page in January, I thought, who's going to really be interested in what I'm going to be sharing, this low tox living and natural remedies, because you do feel like a little bit of a black sheep at times because do you know what I mean? Do you know where I'm coming from? And but actually, I've gone on to realise so many people are seeking more of a natural way. Why is that? Because the other way is not necessarily working.
Yeah.
And people don't want to be on lifelong medication. People don't want to be, you know, knocking back a bottle of cowpole for their children.
No,
People want gentler things on for their body.
you do. And instead of maybe Calpol, I would look at ABC, aconite belladonna, chamomilla, have that in the house, 30C, it's every 4 hours. Yes, the temperature may be raging, but at the same time with it, it's working in other ways. And it helps to bring the child back into balance. And you can work with intercurrent remedies such as pulsatilla. And, you get a homeopathic kit, or you either get homeopathy from different places that it is available, and it lasts for a very long time. And it
Yeah.
is it's relearning the way of medicine, really. I think that this is the period that we're in. And the
Mm.
ones that are really getting it are the stranger ones, the ones that are kind of thinking bigger. And for those of you that feel a bit stuck with being a bit different, I've just done a podcast with somebody called Sarah Mondaini, and we speak about the weird ones and the strange ones and the artists and the musicians and the fact that it's okay to be who you are, and then you find your tribe. And then you
Mm.
find all the other ones that are really good at herbs or maybe growing, and then we all learn from each other. And this is what's happening. There's a collective of people growing in the world at the moment that have had a look and said, okay, this is how I've been raised, but actually that way doesn't work for me. And what they're doing is that they're pointing their energy somewhere else, and we're creating something completely new. And this is where I think the magic is.
Mm. Absolutely. I wasn't raised with homeopathy. I was brought up on, cowpole and nutrition was really poor.
Mhm.
But like you say, you get older and you just go a different pathway.
And you learn and you grow. Um, and we've spoken about the shift going on in natural medicine. And I think that with that, there's a lot more people than you think that there is that are
Absolutely.
way. Toxic house products. This is another big thing that I wanted to speak to you about. What have been your findings with this and making your own bits and bobs at home?
Oh my God, the ingredients, the hormonal disruptions, the oh wow, that was a huge eye opener for me. I remember when I started with the cleaning products about, I think it's 4 years ago. And again, when you look into it and you realize the stuff that's used to mask the actual chemical smell, and then you look at the consequences long term, it's no wonder we are in a chronic health state, really.
ISIS.
Respiratory issues, skin issues. And again, once you sort of jump on that new pathway, you start making your own stuff and you realize, oh, this is so simple. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to have loads of different chemical, like cleaning products to clean different things in your house. You literally only need two things.
Yeah. And essential oils. I've always loved essential
Yeah, yeah.
oils, essential oils. And I was introduced to that by my children's father's mum. And once you go down that way, you become Gollum because you're out and you're sniffing every bottle that you can find to see what you can work with at home. And then you start looking at the affinities of these things. You
Mm,
work with it with your clothes, with your cleaning products, the
yeah.
toxic house products. So I think is a massive one. Find that if I go into somebody's house and I've got, those air freshener things, I almost find it impossible to, it's hard.
Mm. Yeah, if I detect a perfume smell straight away now, I get a headache
It's
because I literally have no susceptibility to deal with it anymore because I've just not exposed to it. So,
fumes as well, I find really.
mm,
Post office the other day posting some stuff out and somebody walked in and it was like, and I had to step back a bit because I felt my energy go a bit like, whoa. And your liver has to detox and it does all this work to work with that. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And if you really want to have a look at how to make your own products, please do go on Leisha's Facebook, YouTube, sorry. Which one?
Instagram. So I've got a collection of e-guides actually teaching people how to, loads of recipes on how basically back to basic living. Um, But one thing I will say is, I'm not one of these people where it's got to be, we cannot avoid toxins 100%. All we can do is our best. It's about making changes where it's in alignment with you, doing the best you can, but you can't completely eradicate everything. And being extreme at the same time is also toxic, I think, because it can cause a lot more stress if you're trying to, do you know what I mean? I think there's got to be a balance. And I did try and be like that at the beginning when I first started, and it stressed me out a lot. So I did learn through the process. Just do what you can to the best of your knowledge. It's that's all you can do.
Yeah. And it is about staying in the center and staying in alignment.
Mm,
Listeners, and it's also as well for those of you that felt or that feel that, well, what difference can I make? Like Leisha said, she started in January and she's been building it up. And what she did was that she held on to her vision and she kept it going. And then she created a community and something that everybody can benefit from. So really, if you're out there trying to make a difference with the small things, and maybe you don't have a lot of money or things are a bit tight at the moment, just do one step at a time. Because if you do it that way, it gets to the point where the smaller things then become the bigger things. And for me, it's stepping into your own power. And you can learn things from people like Leisha, from people like myself. But in the end, the most powerful way is your way. So just listen to your spirits. So I think that that's really important. And the other thing that I love about what you do is teaching people how to make tinctures and about oxymels. And do you source your stuff as well from nature? Do you pick bits and then bring them back to the home and make stuff from that way?
I do. Yeah, I'm really into foraging now. This year we foraged elderberries, rose hips, hawthorn berries. I made my mother-in-law, she's got high blood pressure. Here we go, have a hawthorn berry tincture. Yeah, even my children come and do it with me. They love it.
Yeah, they do. Do you know what I really like the taste of at the moment? Pine needle
Oh, nice.
smell. It is absolutely incredible. And that works on so many different levels for coughs, for holds for I could just go on about it. And the oxymel side of doing things for me, it's you're putting your love into that.
Yeah.
You're thanking nature for her gifts, which she grows abundantly for all of us. It also teaches you seasoning. I mean, I'm already tasting wild garlic and it's not even the season yet. My son's been talking about the scones and the different things that we can make from that and the three-cornered leaves. And it brings kids back to an awareness of the natural side of things. So I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful as well that you're doing this with your kids. And really, with this, is there anything else that you would recommend for anybody? Any words of wisdom that you can share with everybody today that are on this, either on the starting part of their journey, or those that maybe feel that they've got something to share that but they're a bit scared to do it?
Just take it step by step. Start small and just build upon it week by week. And don't be afraid to share your knowledge and your thoughts. And I have been in that situation at the beginning when I very first started out. Did actually have a bit of trolling going on,
Yeah.
but I worked. Yeah, yeah, I worked through it. I pushed through it, and in the end, I know my truth, and that's what you've got to do. Just stick with what you know, stay in your lane, and keep going.
Yeah. And some people will have something to say because what's happening is a paradigm's breaking down. And
Yeah,
people that do the trolling, I just think that they're very scared of change. And
yeah,
so they almost try and pass that on to you, but we don't need to carry that. And what
no,
that does as well is it teaches you boundaries. It teaches you how to own it in your own way and to use your voice. And it gives you back a level of power within that you never knew existed. So well done for pushing through that and to keep teaching the others how to do that. And Leisha, thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and the different things that you have gone through and with your children, with your home, and just the wisdom that you shared. I'm really, really grateful, and it's been an honor. And for those of you that are looking to find Leisha in the way of working, please share how to find you, where to get your ebooks from, and all of the rest of it.
thank you so much. It's been really lovely to talk to you.
Where do we find your information for your ebooks and for your Instagram, please?
Yeah, so we're all it's all on Holistic Wellness Way. And the links are in my bio. And my second page, which is Holistic Herbals UK, is my new holistic supplements like elderberry elixir and some tinctures and stuff, which I've just launched, which is really exciting.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So thank you. Amazing, thank you. And for all of you out there, if you haven't subscribed, please do. And thank you for watching, and I will see you all soon.